Good evening, dear night dwellers, and welcome once again to Paranormal Nightshift, the show where shadows murmur their cryptic confessions and your spine-chilling accounts take center stage. I'm Gideon, the voice guiding you through dimly lit corridors and uncharted corners of the unknown, places where logic falters and the supernatural holds sway. But before we plunge into tonight's hair-raising narrative, I have something extraordinary for you. Venture over to paranormalnightshift.com to secure your free copy of The Birth of Dimensional Desperado. This inaugural ebook in the Dimensional Desperado series thrusts you into the wild and perilous exploits of Buck Shadow Sheriff Freeman, a time-jumping lawman who brushes up against the eerie and unexplained at every twist and turn. Trust me, you won't want to miss the story that starts it all. Now, let's dim the lights and invite the night to speak. This evening's account, A Haunting in the A-Frame House, descends upon us courtesy of Jennifer, one of our intrepid listeners. Prepare yourselves, because her account of ghostly pursuits and unsettling encounters may just have you questioning every darkened hallway. Let's dare to embrace the darkness together. I don't think I'll ever forget the first time I saw the A-Frame house. I was about 6 years old, standing in the driveway with my parents and brothers, staring up at this tall, triangular structure. If you've never seen an A-frame before, imagine a giant triangle for a roof, stretching all the way down to the ground, with only two sides that actually have windows. It looked almost like a picture from a storybook, a unique shape that made me feel like we were moving into something special. At first, everything felt perfectly normal. My parents seemed excited. The house had a spacious backyard for us to play in, and the interior was modern enough to accommodate our family of 5. My brothers and I explored every nook and cranny, racing up the wooden staircase to the loft-like second floor, playing hide-and-seek behind the many angles formed by the slanted walls. We were so caught up in the thrill of a new home that none noticed the subtle chill in the formal dining room tucked into the middle of the house. That dining room, dark and windowless, became the center of some unexplainable feelings. In the daytime, it was mostly harmless, but it felt different by late afternoon, especially when the sun started to set. There was an electric tension in the air whenever we had to pass through that room. We used to joke that the walls themselves were watching us, but deep down, it was more than a joke. It felt like eyes were tracking our every move. We learned to handle it by running through the dining room quickly. You'd see any of us dash across, hearts thumping, sure that something was breathing down our necks. Still, I brushed it off as an overactive imagination until a stormy night changed everything for me. I remember that night so vividly. The wind howled outside and rain battered the A-frame roof above us. My bedroom was on the main floor, below an upstairs bonus room with an old pool table. The floors between our rooms were just thin wood slats. If the overhead light was on, I could see it shining through the cracks in my ceiling at night. But during this storm, I noticed something different. I could hear the distinct click-clack of pool balls dropping into the pockets and rolling on the wooden floor above me. The thunder outside boomed, and I'd hear pool sticks clatter every so often as if someone had knocked them over. It went on for what felt like forever. I glanced at the time on my bedside clock, well past my brother's bedtime. There was no way they would be awake, let alone playing pool. Plus, I hadn't seen any light coming through the ceiling. The room above me should have been dark. I tried to shake it off, maybe blaming the wind or the rattling of the house, but the sounds were too precise, like the thunk of a cue ball making contact, or the rattle of balls dropping into a pocket. Eventually I fell asleep out of sheer exhaustion, telling myself I'd find a mess of pool balls scattered on the floor in the morning. When morning did come, I wasted no time racing upstairs. My heart pounded as I entered the room, half expecting to see the pool table in disarray. Instead, the table looked exactly as I'd left it. No balls lying around, no sticks on the floor. Everything was in its proper place, neat and orderly. A cold prickle of dread snaked its way up my spine. How could I have heard so many noises if nothing was disturbed? If the pool table incident unsettled me, the next event terrified me. It was a routine school day, and as usual, my younger brother and I were parked in front of the TV in my parents' bedroom. We'd gotten home first and wanted to watch cartoons before dinner. My parents preferred to watch the news, typical adult stuff, so their bedroom was our go-to spot for after-school fun. Eventually, my mom called us both into the kitchen for supper. I clicked the TV off, heard the static fizzle, and followed my brother through the house. As always, we sprinted through the dim dining room, heartbeats quickening at that uneasy feeling of being watched, until we reached the kitchen. We waited a few minutes for everyone to gather, discussing homework, after-school gossip, and whatever was on the menu for dinner. Suddenly, Mom walked in with an annoyed look on her face. "Why is my TV still on?" she asked, hands on her hips. My brother and I just stared at each other, speechless. We both knew I had turned it off. I was sure of it. But there was no escaping the chore of turning it off again. We steeled ourselves for the dreaded walk back through the dining room. As usual, we ran through it, our footsteps echoing faster than ever, before tiptoeing into my parents' bedroom. Sure enough, the TV was blaring, the same cartoon we'd been watching. My brother muttered, "I swear you turned it off." That alone would have been weird enough, but as we stepped inside, we both saw something that made our blood cold. Right in front of the bed, a translucent purple vest, almost shimmering, floated upward into the air. It hovered there for a moment, then vanished into thin air. It wasn't like a piece of clothing falling off a hanger. It seemed to dissolve in front of our eyes. That was precisely where we'd been sitting moments before. My brother and I stood frozen, too scared to scream, too shocked to do anything other than stare at the now empty space. We turned that TV off again, probably about as quickly as possible, and then bolted out of the room. I could feel a presence there, like eyes boring my back, urging me to leave. We didn't even breathe until we were safely back in the kitchen. After that, neither of us volunteered to watch TV in our parents' room anymore. Those were just my experiences. My brothers each had strange encounters, a door creaking open, whispers in the middle of the night, or cold spots that appeared out of nowhere. Despite trying to rationalize it, we all agreed there was something wrong about that house. It wasn't just the shape or the darkness of the dining room. It felt like the A-frame architecture trapped more than just us inside its walls. Over time, we learned to accept the house's quirks. We flicked on lights in every room we passed, rarely lingered in hallways alone, and checked behind us when that creeping sensation of being watched got too strong. My parents were skeptical, always explaining it away as the wind or imagination. But as kids, we knew better. We lived it every day. Finally, the day came when we were set to move. I distinctly remember standing in the now empty living room, the echoes of our footsteps bouncing off the steeply angled ceilings. All three of us, my brothers and I, exhaled a sigh of relief, as if an invisible weight had lifted from our shoulders. My parents chatted about how excited they were for a fresh start, but we were just glad to be leaving behind the lingering presence we all felt. Even now, as an adult, I occasionally find myself wondering about that A-frame house. Who lives there now? And have they experienced the same disembodied footsteps, floating shapes, and lights flicking on without explanation? If they have, I can only hope they find a way to cope, or better yet, move out. Because once you've experienced nights where pool balls roll with no one to roll them, or watched a purple vest float into nothingness, you're never quite the same again. I used to dismiss ghost stories as silly, but after growing up in that house, I firmly believe in things that go bump in the night. Every creak, every unexplained draft or flicker of light reminds me that there's a world beyond our understanding, and sometimes it's closer than we think. We never did figure out precisely what haunted our A-frame house. Perhaps it was a restless spirit drawn to the home's unusual design, or some energy that latched onto our family. All I know is that our experiences there shaped how I see the world. If you ever walk into a room and feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up, or find a light turned on that you know you switched off, it might be nothing, or it might be something else entirely. Sometimes you just don't want to stick around to find out. And with that, dear listeners, we bid farewell to the flickering shadows of a haunting in the A-frame house. Jennifer, we can't thank you enough for unveiling your extraordinary experience. Tales like yours keep our curiosity ablaze and remind us that the unknown is often just a breath away. If this story captured your imagination, remember there are plenty of ways to keep the paranormal excitement going. By joining our Patreon, you'll unlock ad-free listening and first access to forthcoming episodes in the Dimensional Desperado saga, not to mention other exclusive treats we have in store. For those not ready to hop on Patreon just yet, no worries. Simply subscribe to the Paranormal Nightshift podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Feel free to chime in with your thoughts, theories, and questions. Your feedback fuels our quest into the eerie and unexplained. And, of course, don't forget to head over to paranormalnightshift.com to claim your free copy of The Birth of Dimensional Desperado. It's the gateway to exploring Buck Shadow Sheriff, Freeman's wild, time-leaping escapades, where each chapter seems to bend reality a little further. Until next time, keep your eyes on those dark corners, and remember, just because you can't see what's lurking out there doesn't mean it isn't watching. Sweet dreams, if you can sleep.